Today on With the First Pick, we're doing a different kind of mock draft, franchise quarterback edition. We'll also take a quick peek at my latest mock draft for CBSSports.com. I squeezed in 3 quarterbacks in round 1, Rick. And since it's Tuesday, we have to start things off with everyone's favorite segment, Over Rick Actions. But first, I'm Ryan Wilson. That's Rick Spielman. This is episode 199.
Oh,
we get going, Rick. How many days till the 2025 NFL draft?
Ryan, there are 157 days left until the 2025 NFL draft, and I was grinding out some tape as I sat there and looked at your mock draft. I know it has to be etched in oatmeal because there's a lot of changes that coming, especially in the bottom half of that. And there are a couple guys that I think shouldn't be there and a couple guys that should, but we'll get into that as we go through the show.
Yeah, we're not going to spend a ton of time on that mock draft. I want to get a couple thoughts from you. Over reactions is obviously very important. And then we're going to do the franchise quarterback draft, which is Debo's idea. Fingers crossed you understand the rules. I think it could be a lot of fun. And also, as Rick chuckles, we're going to do to celebrate the 200th episode. What else will we do other than a real live mock draft on the show? So we'll do that as well on Thursday. So we won't go too deep on my mock draft, in part because Rick will probably say some mean things to hurt my feelings, and in part because we got something coming up. You okay with that?
What do we got coming up?
Mock draft on Thursday.
Is that a snake mock draft or is that a real mock draft?
Here we go. You know what's funny though? I asked Debo the rules of snake drafts for 2 people, and I think he laughed before he answered me. We don't know. Look, we're just two old timers trying to make our way through, as my wife calls me here. 2 old timers trying to make our way through the life here. Debo, give us a break. All right, let's do it. Time for Over Rick Actions. Premise is pretty simple, Rick. Have a few topics from the NFL weekend. Rick doesn't know what they are. We get his reactions in real time. All righty, let's get to it. First things first. And this came to my attention, Rick, as I was watching the first place Steelers.
Of course.
Beat the Ravens.
Of course.
And this has been a recurring theme this season. I want to get your thoughts on this. When one of your best players over the course of his career, and probably many times second only to Lamar Jackson, is struggling as mightily as Justin Tucker is struggling. He's converting fewer than 80% of his kicks, missed 2 huge kicks in that game, very makeable Justin Tucker kicks, and that's been a recurring theme this season. What are you thinking? And this isn't a team that's the Dallas Cowboys that has 3 wins and they're going nowhere. This is a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, and one of your best players, one of your most important players throughout the season has not been great. You don't find, just like you talk about offensive linemen, you're going to find a kicker on the street, and you've had struggles with kickers during your tenure. What are you doing with Justin Tucker, who's a locker room leader, great guy, so on and so forth? How are you managing that?
You don't over Rick act. You just
you say that, but what about when you get in the game?
I know, and it cost them the game. And the great for the Pittsburgh Steelers kicker who kicked 6 field goals because they couldn't find the end zone. But he is a Hall of Fame kicker, and for whatever reason, what struggles he's going through, I don't know. I don't know if he's seeing, is it a mental block or what it is? Because, I've had plenty of those on the golf course where I just can't hit the ball. You get the, what is it called when you get the yips? Wasn't there a player that got the yips?
Steve Sachs got the yips. Chuck Knobloch got the yips in baseball.
Knobloch. He's knobblocking right now.
Knobblocking. There you go.
So, but yeah.
By the way, quickly, Chuck Knobloch's a big fan of the show, minding his own business, walking his dog, and he hears Rick calls knobblocking out. All right, go ahead.
Well, I'm with knobblocking because I've knobblocking a lot in my life. But no, you have to get through it. I know it's hard, it's difficult, and with everything that is in today's instant analysis, cut him. The guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He may be one of the best kickers that ever kicked in the NFL, and he's going through the yips right now for whatever reason. But I let go of a kicker because I over Rick acted.
Yeah.
And now he's the best kicker or one of the top kickers, Carlson in Vegas in the league. So sometimes you just
to refresh my memory. Was that after how many games his rookie season?
That was after the second game against the Green Bay Packers, where we, I believe we tied that game, but he missed 3 field goals and a couple in overtime that cost us the game. So everybody was up in arms, and I over Rick acted and shouldn't have, and listened to everybody in the building and outside the building, and did what I did, and rest is history. So you don't think if he got released that he'd be snapped up right off the bat?
Right.
It's relaxed. Let him get through it. Whatever he's going through, he's a Hall of Famer for a reason. He'll figure it out. And God forbid if you let him go and you play someone in the playoffs and he's kicking for an opponent, he kicks the game-winning field goal. That's what you call, I think, egg on your face. So
yeah,
I understand the struggles he's had this year. This wasn't the only game. He's been struggling through most of the season. But he'll get through it. Like I said, he's a pro. He's a Hall of Famer. Whatever tweak he has to make or whoever he has to talk to, he'll be able to get through it.
Yeah, I'm not saying cut him. I'm just wondering what the thought process is because I remember the Anders
It
Carlson
sucks,
thing.
to be honest with you. The thought process is like, Jesus, this guy's a Hall of Fame kicker and he's going through the yipsies.
You just got to go through it with him.
You got to ride out the wave.
Yep. No, I get it, but it keeps popping up, and it's sort of a weird thing to see from him because he's so automatic.
Right. But you
other
bring
kickers
some Yahoo off the street, and that Yahoo misses just as many kicks, and then you're like, "What are we doing with our lives right now?" I'll be on a podcast before I know it because I cut.
Right. You know what's funny? A lot of your reminiscing about your past, that thought ends with, and now I'm on a podcast.
Yes. Yeah, it always is on the podcast.
So I don't want to get too far down this road to bring up bad memories. The Anders Carlson decision was after Blair Walsh.
Blair Walsh. Oh yeah. Yeah. We drafted Carlson in the 5th round.
Did that have any impact, you think? Just
no, I don't think so.
Okay. Just the trauma from the kicker struggling. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Justin Tucker, we got faith in you here with the first
difference is Carlson has only kicked in 2 NFL games, so we didn't know. This one is, I didn't know Carlson was going to be a potential future Hall of Famer or one of the top kickers in the league.
Too bad I didn't know you then. I could have told you he was going to be really good because saved
you
heartache.
I should have reached out, but I didn't know.
Lesson learned. All right, next up, we're staying in Pittsburgh.
Of course.
I want to talk about this last week, but Debo wouldn't let me, so I just forced it into this week's overreactions. Brace yourself. So Steelers have 3 quarterbacks. They're all on 1-year deals. Justin Fields started the season, went 4-2. Russ came in, and they're 8-2. Russ has been better than advertised, but not great. It feels to me like, given the way Arthur Smith has done a fantastic job coordinating up this offense, that you're re-signing Russ. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
So then the question
I think because the way their season's going, you're not going to get a swing at one of these quarterbacks. Now, maybe you take a swing later in the draft or on a young quarterback that you want to develop. But I think, and you can disagree with me since you wear your black and gold everywhere.
Yeah.
That this is the best quarterback that Mike Tomlin has had since Ben Roethlisberger.
That's easy. Yeah, I'm not going to push back on that.
So they've been averaging almost 30 points a game until this week, and they went against the Rock'em Sock'em division rival in Baltimore. But they've scored more points than they have with Russ at quarterback. He's maybe the Hall of Fame moonball thrower of all time.
Him and Jeff Blake. Remember Jeff Blake?
Oh, Jeff Blake. Yeah. You know what college?
ECU. Come on, man.
Okay. I didn't know if you're from North Carolina, if you knew that. Yeah. East Carolina. You're correct, sir. But I think that they have to keep Russ, especially if I believe they'll get into the playoffs. I don't have any question about that, unless it's a total collapse. And I think if he wins a game or two, that is definitely the quarterback you're going to keep going into the future.
So look, Russ isn't doing a lot of things great. He's doing a lot of things above average, and that's fine. He's never going to get through his reads. He's never going to throw with anticipation. But the moon ball you talk about, they run play action, and they run the ball okay.
They're running better.
They're getting better, and the defense is playing great. And he's the game manager that fits that offense. So he might be making $1 million, less than $5 million, definitely for sure. But it's peanuts. So we talked about this last week with Sam Darnold in Minnesota, who's also on a 1-year deal. Are you paying Russ $20 million a year?
Compared to what the market is? Yes.
Okay. So you're not even hesitating for that.
No, you said $20 million. That's like average.
Yeah. No, I get that. But I mean, it's a lot of pennies.
Well, yeah, but that's what you're paying for a quarterback. You want to pay $55 million? No. You want to pay $50 million? No. You said $20 million. I would take that deal in a heartbeat.
Okay. And Debo has a graphic up here for people listening. Most consecutive starts to begin their career in Pittsburgh. Ben Roethlisberger's at the top. Doug Hodge is at the bottom, tied for with 3 with Charlie Batch, Steeler favorite of mine, and Justin Fields, who preceded Russ. Speaking of Justin Fields, he's also 1 year left on his rookie deal. Any idea about keeping him around, or just doesn't make sense?
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Let him go
Okay.
out and get a starting job. There's going to be a weak quarterback draft this year.
Yep.
He's going to get an opportunity to go somewhere and be a starter. Let him go do what, give him that opportunity.
All right, put a pin in that because I'm going to bring that back up in a moment. But first, I want to ask you one last overreaction here. There's a report over the weekend after the Jaguars got the brakes beat off of them, 50 burger, that Doug Peterson on the bye might be out of a job. Trent Baalke might keep his job and bring Bill Belichick into town. They were on the same staff together back with the Jets in the late 90s. Whether that's true or not, I don't want to talk so much about that. I do want to talk about what happens when an organization turns into Game of Thrones and it's less and less about football and more about people covering their asses and keeping their jobs. That's dysfunctional. It's not going to work, number one.
No.
But how do you get through that? How do you see through it if you're the owner? Like, because it feels like as bad can get outside of perhaps maybe Dallas if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars right now.
Yeah, Jacksonville does not look like they're even competitive. It didn't look like they played hard, and
Right.
If you're going to play against the Lions, you better bring it because they're not going to let up the gas. If they got an opportunity to put their foot on your throat and squash you, they're going to do that. But you still have 6 or 7 games left in the season. It is brutal to get through these last 6 or 7 games. So you have to be professional. The owner may say, finish out the season. I've heard that numerous times. We'll evaluate everything at the end of the season. So you come in, do your job, continue to go about your business, try to give your team the best opportunity to win. And then, it's out of your control because the ownership's going to make that decision at the end of the season. But if they haven't, maybe they haven't let him go because they don't know if they have anyone on staff that would be a good interim coach. So I don't know if it can get worse the way Jacksonville is playing right now, but it could get worse. So
it ain't getting better. And my point is this: when there's dysfunction between the GM and the head coach, which seems to be the case, I don't know personally, but just based on what I've read and how they're playing, and that they may not have interests which are aligned in the best interest of the organization. And you say just get through it. You're basically just trying not to drown, correct? Like you have no intention.
You don't have a choice. What choice do you have? You going to quit? If you quit,
but you're not focused on the things that the Lions are focused on, for example, which is game planning and getting better and getting the most out of your players.
I disagree with you 100%. You're a professional.
You think
you're getting paid to do a job. Do your job. Now, as crappy as it is right now. Yeah, you're getting me fired up.
All right, go ahead.
You're still a professional and you're getting paid to do a job. Okay. So do it. And I understand you're walking through the hallways. I've been through this numerous times. All the coaches, assistant coaches, doors are shut in between meetings because they're scrambling maybe to find another job or what's going on. There's a lot of other crap going on in the office, but you're responsible to do your job. So just do your job as hard as it is to gut it out. It's all great, fine and dandy when there's flowers and rainbows and butterflies and unicorns when you're winning games. But when the crap hits the fan and it's as bad as it can get, that's when you truly tell if you got the right people in the office because it's a character builder. And are you the same person when it's high or when it's low? And if you're walking around moping and you're walking around dead man walking, as we used to say, knowing that eventually you're going to have to go to the gallows. And I hate to see anyone lose their job. If there is backstabbing going on, that's when it's really bad. And I hope that's not happening. So regardless, as bad as it is, I hope they're both supporting each other and trying to get through this and let the chips fall at the end of the season, whatever the ownership decides to do. But that, I'm not going to sit here and be naive and tell you that there is not office politics going on and people are trying to save their arses. But that makes it even worse. So just suck it up, next month and a half, do your job and let it go. That's being a pro. That's being a professional. Plus, if you're doing anything to jeopardize your ability to collect your paycheck after you get fired, then shame on you.
And future employers will probably know about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't you? We talk about this all the time. When a player that we're evaluating has a crap game, then you want to see how he responds. Is he going to blame, like, well, the play calling stinks, or I don't have the offensive line in front? How many times have we talked about that? Are they blaming others, or are they taking the responsibility themselves?
Yeah, basically. In Debo, we know how to get Rick fired up now. Say people
Jesus.
are caught up in Game of Thrones and not doing their job. But basically, your advice is the same advice that I give my kids. Control what you can control. Everything else, got no say in. All right. That was a good one. Like that. Like fired up Rick. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a sneak peek at my mock draft, CBSSports.com, so Rick can have some angry thoughts before we move on to the QB franchise draft. Do that right after this.
There are some things in life that you can't quite explain.
An extraordinary story.
Maybe it sounds flawless, looks effortless, or makes you feel like a part of history.
The first ever goal for BFC.
And when all of those phenomenons come together, it's perfect. Pitch perfect.
All right, Rick. I put out Mock Draft 3.0 on CBSSports.com for the fall. And the only question I have for you, and then you can fire off a question that had you all worked up here. So I had the Raiders at pick 4 taking Tedrow McMillan because all the top 2 quarterbacks were gone. I love the idea of T-Mac and Brock Bowers on the same team, but you need a quarterback. And then at 26, I had them trading back into the first round, and they have pick 35 as we sit here right now. They have 2 third-round picks. One is the Devontae Adams one, so they have some ammunition, if you will, to get Jalen Milroe. And your response will be Tom Telesco doesn't trade up or down, so that's dumb. And your other response will probably be Jalen Milroe is more runner than passer right now. And my response to that would be, I get it. I don't disagree with either of those things, but desperate times call for desperate measures. So
let me ask you this, as you're sitting there trying to justify this move.
Yeah.
Is Jalen Milroe, are you saying that he's as good a thrower as Anthony Richardson? I understand the athleticism and the ability to make plays with his legs, but are you also saying that you see him as an Anthony Richardson?
I'm sighing because hope against hope, yes, but the reality is no, he is not right now. He hasn't grown as much in that Kalen DeBoer offense as perhaps I would have liked, and maybe he needs another year in there. I don't know what his plans are in terms of staying or coming out. But right, you're hoping for best case scenario Anthony Richardson with a lot of Raiders colored glasses on. So there are a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, and maybe you want to get a Justin Fields. Maybe Justin Fields is a better option in terms of free agency. But you have to have a quarterback in Las Vegas, and overreactions call for drastic measures, it feels like.
So you didn't answer my question.
He is not Anthony Richardson throwing the ball.
Okay, thank you. But you're going to trade back in the first round to get him because you want Eric Dickerson running the ball at the quarterback.
We're desperate.
Okay. I didn't like that.
You're not doing that.
I'm not doing that.
Who are you taking? Or how are you getting it? Well, who's your quarterback? Justin Fields is out there. Jameis Winston will be a free agent. Andy Dalton. I'm just looking at some of the names that'll be available free agent-wise.
Justin Fields is the most appealing because he can run with his legs, and you try to get somewhat. You don't think would you trade up and the way Carson Beck played against Tennessee this past weekend? Are you
the Carson Beck thing is interesting because he did it, but now he needs to do it 2 or 3 or 4 more times.
Correct, because now they're back in a playoff hunt, or at least they're in consideration for the playoffs. Let's say, would you take right now what you know today? Would you trade up for Jalen Milroe, or would you trade up for Carson Beck?
I would resign and join the podcast. Geez, a pizza.
I like putting you in these scenarios that you put these hypotheticals.
I might lean towards Jalen Milroe. I just don't trust Carson Beck right now. Maybe that changes, but
you trust Jalen Milroe.
to run. I mean, we can just do a bunch of Justin
That'll
Fields
work
stuff
in the
with him.
NFL.
Yeah, I know. It's not a great situation to be in. I think Justin Fields, to your point, is probably the best option. Luke Getsy isn't there, so that makes more sense now than it did over the summer. But the reason I didn't have them trading up at the top of the draft is because they got leapfrogged by the Giants, who took Shador, and then the Browns stayed put at 3 and took Cam Ward, and then the Raiders on the clock.
That's a good scenario to go through to practice.
So, I mean, are you? We'll say one last thing, and then you can ask your question here. The Jaguars have the number 1 overall pick. They're not taking a quarterback.
No.
Would you trade it from 4 to 1? If you're
if those
Raiders,
are the only 2 quarterbacks, and I think they're a franchise quarterback, you're going to have to do what you have to do to get up there to get one of those 2, unless you think that Jalen Milroe or Carson Beck, because I think Carson Beck is the answer to your future. May not be ready next year.
Yeah.
But if you're projecting who's going to be a better pro quarterback, are you putting it on Beck or are you putting your money on Milroe?
I don't want to think about it. It makes my head hurt.
I know. Well, you got to make a decision today.
I said Milroe.
Okay, so put that on the social media that Ryan Wilson will take Milroe over Beck.
First overall, to add that part too, just for kicks. All right, I'm going to ask you one more question, and then you can ask your question quickly. We'll get to the franchise quarterback thing. How do you feel about Debo's Tyler Warren going 31st overall, tight end out of Penn State to the Kansas City Chiefs?
Love it.
Oh, how you like that, Debo?
I think that he is one of the best football players I watched this year. They could do multiple things. So
you got to add your caveat. This is what happens when you come back to school.
You're right. And Kelsey's on his way, towards the retirement and joining Taylor Swift on the tours. But he's too good of a football player if he's there at 31 to pass up. I don't think he'll be there at 31, honestly.
Really interesting, because we talked about him as late day 2, day 3 over the summer.
Yeah, but I don't know if you've done this long enough, but summer school and then where they end up, sometimes guys change and actually
get out of here.
Up. Some guys move down, some guys move up. So
I don't know about that.
Tyler Warren has definitely moved up and helped himself this year, since he is the only offensive weapon that Penn State has. Debo.
That's disrespectful. What about the running backs?
They're
Allen and
okay.
Singleton.
They're not as impactful as Tyler Warren is.
I agree with that. All right, what one thing do you want to yell about before we move on?
Oh God. Well, I went back and looked at all these good football players that you had there muddled up in the bottom of the first round.
What'd you think? Yeah, what'd you think of some of those?
Like the Amanamori.
Amanamori, yep. The safety out of South Carolina, big strapping young man.
Yeah, he has good. He had horrible tackler in the LSU game. Played better in Alabama and Ole Miss game. Unique size. I'll tell you this, that he is a twitched up athlete. So he's not as athletic as Kyle Hamilton coming out
of
Notre Dame. You know who my pro comp was after I was watching him?
Who?
Isaiah Simmons. Came out of Clemson, that he ended up being a little bit of a flame out in Arizona. Ended up getting
didn't have position for him.
A cup of coffee to the Giants. And I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where this guy fits in a scheme, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I feel like you could play him a little closer to the line of scrimmage, and he feels like he's more instinctual than Isaiah was.
I give him, but for a big physical guy, I wish he tackled better. That's the one thing that I got off on.
And I don't know if he's a first-round pick. I just threw him in there because I like the fact I like him being in that Buffalo defense.
Yeah, I watched Jalen Royals, your receiver from Utah State. That was another one of my homework assignments.
What do you think?
I saw you put him in. Yeah, sure.
High on him?
Yeah, very.
Jaden Reed is too rich of a comp?
Yeah, very. This guy doesn't run any routes. He's like a bubble screen king. Made the great catch down the sidelines in the Utah game. He any route coming back to the quarterback, it takes him 22 steps to get out of his cut to come back. He does have very good hands. He is an explosive athlete with the ball in his hands, but he's got a long way to go as a route runner and to understand coverages, because he's just out there being a good athlete catching the ball. So
it's funny, or not fun for us. He's accepted his invite to the Senior Bowl.
Awesome. I want
So
to
we'll
see
get more
that.
opportunities to talk
And I
about.
don't know why he's missed the last 4 weeks. If he's
Foot injury, I believe. He's done for the year.
And then the one thing I saw that I put on a Temple game because he had like 22,000 targets against Temple. And when the Temple corner pressed him, he just rode his arse out of bounds. So he's going to need a lot of refinement in a lot of areas, but it's a raw athlete to work with. But first round, I would struggle with.
Yeah, I get it. And there aren't a lot of wide receiver options in the first round after the handful of 3 or 4 guys we've typically talked about. Lesson learned. Go back to the old drawing board. So that's good. I'm glad you got a chance to watch those guys.
And the only one kid I wanted to mention that
Yeah.
I thought maybe sneaking at the bottom of the first, I noticed them in the when they played against Ohio State. Then I watched Maryland and Wisconsin. Derek Harmon, the D tackle from Oregon.
Yep.
This guy is a big, strong, physical athlete now that can play the run. And I was surprised that he has some quick twitch and nimbleness as an inline pass rusher, and he plays with his hair on fire. So
I agree. Very good player.
He's 6'5", 310, which is a unique size that I think is athletic enough to play as a 3-tech or an under tackle. But this guy kind of caught my attention. He hasn't had a lot of sack production, but he does create havoc in the backfield when he's rushing the passer. And I thought this player kind of jumped out to me when I went back. And he had like 7 tackles in the run against Ohio State. So I think this guy may be one of those guys that as this evolves, which I know your mock draft is not etched in stone, it's etched in oatmeal, that this guy may kind of sneak into that lower bottom of the first potentially if he continues to go the way he's going.
That's a good call. No, I think that you're onto something there. I think I watched Harmon early in the year. I think I had day 2 at the time, but looking forward to going back and reevaluating that. All right, so you're warm on Aman Worry. You're cold on Jalen Royals. You're hot on Derek Harmon. And you're hot on Tyler Warren. So all told, I'll give myself a B+.
Yeah.
All right, Debo, let's take another quick break. Then we're going to play with the first pick QB franchise draft, Snake Edition. Rick can't wait right after this.
CBS Sports HQ, giving you college football coverage unlike anyone else.
We're talking Big Ten.
Pre- and post-game coverage.
Are you encouraged with the way that this team responded?
Along with breaking news.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
Highlights and expert analysis.
That streak could be in jeopardy here.
Sure. What was your main takeaway from this game? How impressive was his domination?
That really changed the football game.
Let's go ahead and have some more fun.
Another wild ending.
The chaos continues.
Turn to CBS Sports HQ.
All right, Rick.
I got my highlighter out, my squeeze ball. It's game time.
Annual with the first pick, franchise quarterback draft.
Snake draft.
Snake draft as dictated by Debo. So here are the rules. We each get 10 picks. Snake quarterback, as you mentioned. We're drafting them into our organization right now. So if you think 17 more years of 23-year-old Jaden Daniels is better than 11 more years of 29-year-old Patrick Mahomes, then you better take Jaden. You can factor in age, injury history, anything you want to factor in. One thing we're not going to concern ourselves with too much is the contracts. We don't want to complicate this thing. So we'll just assume that elite guys are going to make elite market-setting money. Rick has no questions because I'm not going to ask him if he does. You do, however, Rick, have the first pick, and then the snake draft begins in earnest. So what are you doing on November 19th, 2024, based on everything that we know?
Well, this was a hard one, having the first overall pick, because there are a lot of options out there.
I think I know who mine is.
So I was leaning towards Joe Burrow, but I'm going to switch.
Okay.
I'm going to go with a guy that everybody said was overrated, that they were in a rebuild mode, that has no weapons, and yet single-handedly won one of the biggest games of the year. I'm going with Josh Allen.
Yeah, I feel like that's almost the layup of layups.
Did I do it right, Debo? Now,
can I just ask, why is it not who a lot of people say is going to end up the GOAT in Patrick Mahomes?
I think with the rules that are very cloudy, but there are the rules, that I think that Josh Allen down the next 10 years will be up there or past Patrick Mahomes, because I'm taking in the age consideration. And I know Josh is in his 20s, but
they are a year apart.
I think that Josh is a better athlete when he's scrambling, and that seems to be a critical part of playing quarterback in this league, a la why Ryan Wilson would take Jalen Milroe from Alabama. He wants Eric Dickerson at quarterback. So I think that Josh Allen is a more dynamic threat with the ball in his hands as a runner than Patrick Mahomes.
When all is said and done at the end of their careers, who will we say is the better quarterback, considering what Patrick has done in 7 years and Josh has done in 6?
Well, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes because he's won Super Bowls. If Josh Allen has won Super Bowls, you'd say Josh Allen's better than Patrick Mahomes. I'm not taking that into consideration. I'm taking into what I see. And Josh Allen, they both throw the ball well. Neither of them have a great supporting cast. Josh Allen got the nod for me because of his ability to make plays with his legs, a la win the game against Kansas City on the 4th and 2 scramble.
Yeah, I was going to take him in a heartbeat if you had decided to go in another direction there at number 1. All right.
Ha! Debo.
Does Andy Reid and his future factor in it all?
I think Sean McDermott is one of the top 2 coaches in the league. And I understand Sean McDermott's defense, Andy Reid is offense. But these 2 coaches are finding ways to win in the NFL, despite everybody saying they don't have the personnel, which I do believe they have the personnel. But when they say Josh Allen is overrated at the beginning of the season, and we've talked about that, and he goes out there and plays the way he's playing, I'm sure he wanted to shove it up everybody's arse that I am a very good quarterback that can carry this team.
Yeah, and he, you talk about Eric Dickerson. He has some Eric Dickerson in him too.
No, he doesn't.
Well, the defense doesn't know that when they keep bouncing off of him as he runs into the end zone.
I'm still fighting up about the over-Rick actions.
Yeah, you are.
All right, go ahead with your snake there. Take your next 2.
All right, I don't want to over-react on the Patrick Mahomes struggling this year, so I'm taking Patrick Mahomes, but I'm going to take the guy that you mentioned, who might be the toughest player pound for pound in the NFL as well, especially after watching that Chargers game where he got hit, by my count, 4 trillion times and got up each and every time, Joe Burrow. So I'm going Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow.
Okay. My turn?
You're up. You have 2 picks, Rick. Don't mess them up.
I am going next with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
And
would you have taken anyone other than Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow at 2 and 3?
Lamar.
Yeah. Over who?
I would have probably took him over Joe Burrow.
Okay. All right.
But Joe Burrow, I was considering number 1 too.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with these top 4.
And Joe Burrow has the injury history more so than the other 3 that you have on here.
Right. Now it gets very interesting because you have the top 4 off the board. I'm going to go with a future pick here, and I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Number 5.
All right. All right. What are we doing here? So, is it too early to take Bo Nix? That's a joke. I think, oh man, there's some good choices here. So, okay. So we have, I'll just think out loud here. We have Kyler Murray available. We have Devo's Jalen Hurts. We have Jared Goff, Jordan Love. So I'm going to, I'm going to take Justin Herbert.
Oh.
And Jared Goff.
Oh, mine too. Satisfied with that?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Not a lot of projecting with this group so far.
No.
We got 10 years for all of them left.
My turn.
Goff is the oldest that we've picked so far. He's the only one that's 30 years old or above.
He is 30. I knew he was close.
He's 30 now.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. He can play
He's got
7, 8
another
more
8
years.
left in him. They play loud. They play long.
All right, you got 2 picks, Rick.
All right, I'm going to stay on the youth movement here and projecting 10 years from now. I am going to go, even though he's not playing as well this year, but I think he's going to rebound. CJ Stroud.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
And I'm going to go with the 9th overall pick. I think he's matured. He's figured out what it is to be a pro quarterback in the NFL. I'm going to go with Kyler Murray at number 9.
Yeah. All right. So, Debo, through 2.5 rounds here, which group do you like better?
The one that didn't take Jared Goff, number 7, so Team Rick.
Are you kidding me? Jared Goff's he's the MVP right now. What are we talking about?
He's not the MVP.
Rick, should he be?
I'll wait to. I'm just curious, like why a Jared Goff over someone like a Stroud that is 23 or even a Drake May. Like if we're projecting 15
30.
more years of Drake May.
And the other thing is this, and that's actually a pretty good point, Debo, because Jared Goff stunk for he was average to below average the first 3 or 4 years. And we all thought
he did get to a Super Bowl, so that's pretty good for a stunk quarterback, as you said.
But you would admit that he's gotten substantially better since arriving in Detroit.
Yes.
Yeah. So my point is that you can grow into that role too. So I don't know when Drake May, although Drake May is playing really well, when some of these young quarterbacks. Now CJ Stroud, I get that argument, and I in my defense is I'm letting too much of 2024 cloud my opinion. He did it 1 year. He's been a little inconsistent this year, but I expect he will bounce back. I get that. But Jared Goff isn't Aaron Rodgers age-wise. He's 30. He just turned 30. I would argue Jared Goff's better than Justin Herbert right now. Nothing?
If the Lions called up the Chargers and said, hey, we're going to offer Jared Goff for Justin Herbert, what are the Chargers saying?
No.
Because of age?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
I like applying that kind of logic for a couple. Like if the Lions called the Texans are hanging up immediately.
No.
What if the Chargers call the Texans? I mean, feels like apples to apples at that point, right?
What's your answer, Rick? You're the Texans.
I think he's got a higher ceiling than Justin Herbert, but I think Justin Herbert under Harbaugh is just you're starting to see him start to get back to what he was, because one thing that Justin Herbert is that no one is giving him credit for, he is a very good athlete for that position for his size and the way he's been using his legs to make plays, which added another dimension to that offense.
All right. This is getting dicey here.
Well, you're getting your arse kicked.
I don't think so. I disagree.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to take Bryce Young and Bo Nix. You're up, Rick. That's a joke.
You took who?
Bryce Young and Bo Nix. That's a joke. Don't write it down. It's a joke. Relax. You got your little pen and paper out there writing it down. Okay, here we go. Let's go with Jordan Love. And because Debo pressured me.
You're the general manager of the show. Don't let us influence your thinking. Actually,
I know. No, this is where I was going. Jordan Love and Drake May.
Okay.
I mean, this is a home run roster. I can't believe I'm listening to you buffoons.
Okay. I'm up, Debo.
You got 2 picks.
I am going to go with, and this is going where it starts where it gets a little dicey here, Debo. I am going to go with Caleb Williams.
Oh, boy. He did play better last week under Thomas Brown.
I can't believe you left him on the board. And I am going to go with Bo Nix.
I knew you were going to say Bo Nix. He fell for it, Debo. He fell for the trap. Debo, are you living in a world where you're drafting Bo Nix over Jalen Hurts?
No, not in this world. Not in this lifetime. I would like to interject with just a trip down memory lane, January 2023, and we did a re-ranking of 2020 quarterbacks, an excellent draft class that consisted of Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, and Jordan Love. Both of you at that time had Jordan Love number 1. I think you recall that. I'm interested why Jordan Love's struggles weren't as factored in for you this year as CJ Stroud. I know they're a couple picks apart, but are you thinking about them like the same way with their 2024 struggles?
No.
I think part of it is Jordan was banged up after that week 1. I think the week 1 game overseas, whenever that was. So he sort of struggled to come back. And he's always going to be a gunslinger. I think he's been more consistent, even to Debo's point that he hasn't been as good as he was last year. More consistent than CJ in terms of pushing the ball down the field.
Well, I think because he has better players at the receiver position to push it down the field. The reason I would disagree and say Jordan Love's behind CJ right now is because Jordan Love has sat for 3 years, been in the league longer. And to me, and I understand the injuries, and he got the big contract, which was deserved, and he played lights out the second half of the year and what he did in the playoffs, but he seemed to take a step back. But he is in the league longer than CJ, so he's seen a lot more than CJ, even though he was sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. So that's why I'm going on the come on CJ Stroud.
Are you down on Jordan, or that you just higher on CJ?
I'm just higher on CJ for down the road.
Okay, yeah, and look, I get it. I'm not going to push back on that. I think CJ overall is probably the better long-term option, but he wasn't there for me, and I do like Jordan Love. Any other questions, Debo, to make us second guess ourselves?
I'm not second guessing myself.
I feel like I'm on drugs with the Jalen Hurts disrespect, but keep going. Let's.
No, Jalen Hurts.
Let's see Taysom Hill. Let's see.
He's mad now, Rick. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is going to do our very next pick. And you would agree that Jalen Hurts, after Shane Steichen left, hit a rough patch, not entirely all his doing. Johnson didn't do a very good job last year. It's a little rough early on. Things are coming around now with Kellen Moore. You agree with all that, right?
Me?
No, Debo talking about Jalen. He's all mad at us for not picking Jalen number 1 overall.
Because Barkley's carrying that team, not Jalen.
Oh, boy. You bleed. Debo, nothing?
I am not arguing for him to be top 3. I think the man has had 54 offensive coordinators in his 15 years of playing football in his life. Let's see how someone like Jared Goff performs next year without Ben Johnson.
Debo's keeping receipts, Rick. All right, give me Jalen Hurts, please. I was going to take him here anyway, but hopefully it'll ease your burden a bit. And now I'm in a predicament. So we're starting to see some of the warts on Brock Purdy. I'm actually having a conversation with myself. Do I want Baker Mayfield or Brock Purdy? Anybody want to give me some advice?
Yeah, you're the general manager. Pick the damn pick.
I want to see if you'd fall for it. If we were just playing one more year, this would be a Matthew Stafford pick. I wouldn't think twice about it, but we're thinking long-term here. All right. I got to get the okay, I can't do it. I'm not taking Brock Purdy. I'm taking battle-tested Baker Mayfield. Brock, I like.
That's the one I thought was going to go higher. I thought you guys both, with your love affair with Baker.
Well, Baker's been through some stuff. Brock has been in one system where he's had success, but I just don't know if that transcends Shanahanism. So I'll take Baker. All right, Rick.
Thank you. This is no-brainers for me. Brock Purdy there. The next pick for me.
Okay.
and I'm going to pull one out of the hat. I have two options. I am going to go with Trevor Lawrence at 17.
I would have sold him to you for a bag of donuts.
He gets with the right person, the right system. Trevor Lawrence will rebound.
You've been talking to Pete too much. All right. I have 2 picks left. You have 1 pick left. We are scraping the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. No disrespect to any of the players that are about to be named.
Debo, just so you know, you not that I'm a proofreader, but is that an A or an O under Lawrence?
I know how to spell.
That's Susie fact check over here.
That's an A. Spell Tagovailoa.
Oh, is that subliminal advertising there, Debo? I can't go to it. He just can't stay healthy. Jeez, oh, pizza. This is really... So, I like this pick better than the Trevor Lawrence pick, I believe. Currently injured. That's been a recurring theme for him. So, I'm going to go with Dak Prescott. Just got to get him out of Dallas. We got to get him on a team that can surround him with players and not have just nonstop drama.
He is the oldest player on this list now.
Is Dak? How old is Dak?
31. He's a year
31.
older
Okay.
than Goff. They were both 2016 class. So no one from 2015 or before.
So Jaden's gone. Caleb's gone. Drake May is gone. Bo Nix is gone. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable taking Anthony Richardson or certainly not Will Levis. All right. Got to make some tough choices here. Let's go with... this is not in a good spot here. Take him out of options here, Rick. I'm going to bet the farm on Anthony Richardson as my 10th.
Can I don't want to spoil anything for Rick, but can I toss out 2 names?
Yeah.
Haven't seen very much of them at all, but Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I was thinking about them. Michael Penix had to play last week in their blowout loss, but I just and Rick, maybe there's an upside to not knowing what you have in JJ or Michael Penix over what you do know you have in Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I mean, you have an option. Take what you take. Debo's trying that's his subtle way of trying to help you limp through the rest of this because you're getting
that means Rick definitely wasn't taking them.
No, I'm taking Anthony Richardson, but I do like I did think about Michael Penix Jr. The JJ, we just don't know other than the one preseason game because of the knee injury, and he had a subsequent cleanup surgery, I believe, so it didn't go as smoothly as they had hoped, the recovery. But Anthony Richardson, I'll just go in the last game, and hopefully that's what he does going forward. But we've seen a lot of up and downs with Anthony Richardson, and Penix Jr. feels certainly more stable, but we just don't know enough for me to feel comfortable taking him here. All right, Rick, you got one last pick to save this draft because currently you're getting crushed.
I don't think so. I mean, it's a no-brainer to take Tua Tagovailoa, but I don't know, with his head injuries. But you can make the argument on JJ because we saw the one good preseason game, and Michael Penix Jr., which was still baffling me that they didn't play him the rest of the preseason.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand why you wouldn't do that, but they didn't. So I can't go off of one preseason game with each of those guys technically.
So you're going with Tua?
I'm going with Tua.
That's official?
That's official.
All right. What do you think, Debo? I feel like Rick got crushed here. I have the oldest players. I have Jared Goff and Dak, 30 and 31. Rick, all your guys are sub 30, I do believe.
Yeah, yes. Ryan, rip off the full list for those listening.
Yeah, if you're listening. So Team Rick, and I'll just read these first picks 1 through 10. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence, and Tua Tagovailoa. And then Team Ryan, picks 1 through 10. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Drake May, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, and then Anthony Richardson. You have a lot of rookies, Rick, so that's a lot of volatility there. Caleb Williams probably has been the worst performer on this list so far.
I don't know. Trevor.
Yeah, you got two guys on your roster who are looking
Richardson
and Anthony Richardson. So yeah, there's three names there. Two. Rick owns two of them. I own one.
Debo, since you're the boss, what team are you taking? Team Ryan or Team Rick?
I don't think there's a ton of separation. I'm really trying to think about who I would go with.
You have
a lot
to
of
make
times we do these exercises. What'd you say, Rick?
I want Debo to make a decision. You guys like sit on the fence, and when you get put on the hot seat to make a decision, you guys crawdad.
We crawdad it. All right, let me add one more thing before Debo makes a choice. Debo, answer this question first before you answer Rick's. Typically, or in times past when we've done exercises like this, we blow your mind with how far afield we get. This feels pretty much on point. You don't have any real issues with the picks?
The internet will feel a certain way if this makes its way out there.
Oh, you think there will be some concerns?
Yeah. I mean, I think the number one pick will be debated. I think it's fair to go with Josh Allen, but that will be debated. I think that 5 to 10 range is pretty interesting. Like Kyler having a good season, but up there pretty high. Goff, a lot of belief in Jaden Daniels.
Does Drake May over Jalen Hurts get you going?
No, I can understand that.
Oh, okay. All right.
From my perspective as an Eagles fan, we can take out some of the list, but I would certainly have Jalen Hurts over Kyler Murray, over Jared Goff.
What? Come on.
Some rookies.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Now, if Saquon Barkley was playing quarterback, I would understand that.
He's going to ride that Saquon thing into the ground. All right, you done? You're enough crawdadding, Debo. Who's victorious?
Put it out there. Don't you post this? Can't we have the people make the decision?
Yeah.
We will have them vote. I am going Team Ryan.
Of course you would. It's always picking on me.
There's that. There's also the Jalen Hurts.
$1 that after people dissected, understand the rules, that Team Rick will be victorious in this snake draft.
Okay. We can do that. I'm happy to put that out there into the universe. All right, that was pretty fun. That went better than I thought. I'll be honest with you. Thank you for understanding the rules, Rick. That was fun.
I understand a lot of mine are projections, but projections that are, 5-10 years down the road.
Well, we'll be here 10 years from now. I'll make a note and we'll reconvene and see where we're at.
If just a last fun exercise, I know you hate every bit of this, Rick. If quarterbacks from this 2025 draft class were eligible,
I will take Cam Ward at 10 if I had the first pick over Anthony Richardson.
I would put no 2025 quarterback in my top 10.
Okay.
Concerning.
All right, there we go. We did it. All in under an hour. Overreactions. My mock draft, first ever with the first pick franchise quarterback mock draft. We'll put that out there until the social medias, Rick, and see what people think. I'm sure they will love it. Not worried about that at all. You worried about it?
No, I actually feel very confident in my victorious $1 bet that I just won.
All right, we shall see. All right, that's it. It's a wrap on episode 199. On Thursday, as I mentioned, we celebrate episode 200 with a full first round mock draft. So be sure to join us for that. In the meantime, thanks as always to my guy Rick. Thanks to Debo for producing. And thanks to all you guys who watch, listen, and comment. See you Thursday.